honoring God with the stuff that He's given to us, because God has given us a lot of stuff, right? More stuff than we actually need, was to live simply. And so we want to live simple lives. We don't want to live extravagant lives. We want to honor God with what He's given to us, and that's kind of a practical point for this message. We held a church yard sale, and we said, now guys, go home, go through your garage. If you forgot you owned the thing, maybe it's time to get rid of it. If you haven't worn the thing that you in your closet for a year, maybe it's time to sell that. Just simplify your life. Let's learn to not buy into society's idea of what you have to have in order to be happy. Let's live simple lives. Jesus Himself lived a really simple life. And we want to have hands that are open rather than hands that are closed. And so that's kind of a way of life. And so we did this yard sale. I want to especially thank Rana for pulling that all together, and for everybody who came out to help set up. We decided with the money that we're going to set up like a little scholarship fund for college students going on mission trips. So we want to be a church that just gives some money away to college students as they feel God's leading them to go to, on foreign trips or trips across other countries. And so anyway, we sold $420 worth of stuff yesterday. That's great. So you guys cleaned out your homes. Your lives are simpler. And now we have money to bless other people with. And so I love things like that when there's a practical application. So good job on that. Go home and clean out more stuff. It's great. One of the things we asked last week was, when is enough enough? When do we actually say, I've got enough to be happy? And usually there's never that point when we say enough is enough, unless we find our deepest contentment and our satisfaction in the person of Jesus Christ. Speaking of Jesus, and it is a sermon, so it should speak about Jesus. He talked about money an awful lot, and how, as His followers, how are we supposed to live in this life when we interact with stuff? What's that supposed to look like? And so, if Jesus spent a lot of time in His life talking to His disciples and the people around Him about money and stuff, I think it's appropriate for us to do that as well. And so today we want to talk about an issue called debt. Debt is no fun. It's a great topic because most of us here are in debt, all right? It has touched on if you're not in debt, raise your hand if you know somebody who is in debt. Basically everybody raised it. All right. So today I want to take us first to a verse in the book of Proverbs. Proverbs 22, verse 7. And in Proverbs 22, verse 7, the writer of Proverbs uses a fascinating word to describe what debt does to us, the kind of a position that debt puts us in when we find ourselves in debt. And I think we'll all relate to it. I don't think we'll read this and say, that's ridiculous. I think we understand it. So open up your Bibles or look on the screen to Proverbs 22, verse 7. It says this, the rich rules over the poor. Do we have it on the screen there? There we go. The rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is the slave of the lender. The borrower is the slave of the lender. You know, God doesn't just, God picks His words carefully when He writes the Bible, all right? And so it's important that He doesn't say that the borrower is the buddy to the lender, or the borrower is the family member. I don't know. If you have ever been in a position where you've loaned money to a family member, all right, you know how awkward that can make things. Right? You know that your relationship changes after that. And so, anyway, I think that slavery is a pretty accurate way to describe what happens when we enter into a debt relationship. That person, that banking institution, whatever it is, they kind of own you to some extent, right? And now, some of us have been in debt for so long, it does feel like a buddy to us. You know, we've been paying our car payment or our student loans for so long, we don't know what life was like before debt. But in a very real way, our relationship with debt is one of which we're a slave to it, because it impacts our decisions in a very real way. Whenever you go to get a loan, all right, and you go to the bank, what do they want to know? They want to know what your credit score is. In other words, how faithful are you in paying the debts and obligations you already have? And they want to know how much money you make. Are you going to be able to service the debt? Are you going to be able to make your payments? And then they loan you money based upon those numbers. Now, what happens though, and this is one of the ways in which we can find ourselves a slave to debt, is that we borrow money based upon our current situation in life, our current job, the income that we have right now. But then what happens if things go sour at your job? What if you get a terrible boss and you just want to get out, but there's no job that offers you the same kind of pay that you currently have? What if you begin to feel in your heart that God is calling you to maybe be a missionary or to leave and go do something new, or to simplify your life, to leave your job that is demanding all of your time so that you can spend more time with your family? And the only way to make that happen is by accepting a lower paying job. What happens is, for many of us, we find ourselves in a situation in life in which that can't be a reality. We are kind of stuck because we have to service the debts that we owe. We took on a debt load that was only able to be paid at the current income that we have. And so that's one of the ways that debt can put us in a slave kind of a situation. Now, you might understand it as you can't go on vacation, or you can't spend time with your family because you're always working in order to pay off that toy that you got, that thing that you wanted so badly, and it can become really, really frustrating. It's why you should think very carefully before you loan money to somebody. I'm not saying you can't loan money to somebody else. That's what you want to do. But what I'm saying is that your relationship with that person will be different. That God's word says that when that happens, in some sense, they become your slave. There's always this cloud that kind of hangs over your relationship. Some of you have been in that kind of relationship. You borrow money from a family member, you've loaned money, and then it's kind of, when are they going to pay me back? It just gets really awkward. So I don't think anybody ever goes into debt and says, boy, that was fun. I wish I was more in debt. You know, I just feel so good when I get my mortgage statement every month, or when that car payment comes due, or whenever my credit card bill comes. Boy, I mean, I know I'm deeply in debt, but boy, look at the points I'm earning. You know? I got so many frequent flyer miles, I can't afford to go anywhere, but if I could, I could fly anywhere I wanted. Now, debt affects all of us. In fact, I was looking for some facts and figures. I've got a picture up here that talks about just if you are in debt in these particular ways, this is the average. You got Ian, you got a picture there of a graph for the current American debt. There we go. If you have credit card debt, if you have credit card debt, the average person with credit card debt in America owes over $16,000. If you have a mortgage, the average mortgage is $180,000. If you have an auto loan, the average debt on your car or automobile, or the cumulative amount if you have several cars, is $29,000 in auto loan debt. If you have student loans, which in a church made up of college students like ours, we've got a lot of student loans. $50,000 is the average. And so if you have any kind of debt in your life, the average amount of debt that you have is $135,924. Now, if you don't have debt, all right, I mean, if you were to take all the family units across America and you were to average all of their debt, including those who don't have debt with those who do have debt, the average family owes just under $99,000. So I did some math recently, and I thought, I wonder how much debt the Commonplace has, all right? So I went through our directory, and I just counted up families. How many families do we have? How many individuals do we have? And I took out the college students. So this is just kind of an estimate. If we fall into national averages for debt, then it seems as though we probably, like a safe number, is that the Commonplace Church family is $3.4 million in debt. That's a way to go, us, yeah. And I'm guessing it's probably higher than that because we are on the younger side. So as the national averages include retired individuals who usually are less in debt than young families. And so we are predominantly a younger church, and we have a lot of college kids who are just getting into student loans. And so if you were to really add in all of our student loan debt, we probably are closer to $4 or $5 million. It's a lot of money, though. It's a lot of money. So let's pray at the end. All right. When surveyed, the Forbes 400 richest people in America were asked, what is the most important key to building wealth? And 75% of the most wealthy individuals in America said that the most important key to building wealth was staying debt-free and so getting out of debt and staying out of debt was the number one key to building wealth. No, not one of them ever said, I got rich using the points earned on my credit card. Not one of them. So, first, when we talk about debt, I need to kind of clear up some things because I don't want this to become a legalistic sermon where we all just walk away feeling terrible about ourselves, all right? All right, the Bible does not say that going into debt is a sin, all right? Woo! All right? Sometimes when we approach God's Word, we want black and white answers. We want it just to say, can I or can't I do this thing? Now the reality is that in the realm of the things that God allows us to do, there is a whole wide array of should I or shouldn't I. It's not a sin to eat that delicious piece of cake. Now, should I eat it? I don't know. Should I eat 3 or 4 pieces of that cake? Probably not. Is it a sin? I don't know. So anyway, when it comes to debt, we find ourselves in kind of one of these spaces. Certainly God's Word doesn't say you absolutely cannot go into debt. However, and when we look at what causes debt and the impact that debt has on us, it would seem as though it is more wise to not be in debt. In other words, it is better to be out of debt than in debt. It's not a sin to be in it, but if we can, let's work to be free from it. And so that's what the goal of this is today, is that we listen to the Holy Spirit individually, and that we would be able to understand what He's saying to us and to you in particular regarding debt in our lives, all right? Because we want to be free. I want to present us with a better future. I want us to leave today with hope in our hearts that we don't always have to be $3.4 million in debt as a church family. But we can be free. There's a possible future in which that's not the reality. So let's talk a little bit, though, about debt and just kind of build a case. I think we all agree that nobody likes to be in debt, but let's just kind of talk through the reality of debt and what it means to us. First of all, culture today expects you to go into debt. It is normal. Debt is not a last resort, it is a first resort for many of us. It is acceptable, it is normalized through what the media that we consume. It is just absolutely considered normal to be in debt. When we look at God's Word, there is, throughout all of its pages, a principle that we kind of come to in terms called sowing and reaping. In other words, God's Word says, throughout our lives, we plant, all right? Whether it's sowing the Word of God and our witness in the world, or in actually just going to work and living our lives, we sow seeds and then we reap a harvest based on what we sow. What debt does is debt sells the lie to us that we can have the harvest before we do the work. In other words, you know what? Rather than doing the hard work of saving and planting and watching it grow, you can have the thing that you want now and then just pay it off over the next X amount of years. And so I think that's a very dangerous thing that it tells us, because in the end, we still have to put in the work. We're just promised the thing first. And I was thinking back through when Sarah and I were in premarital counseling. I remember we came across this quote. I think it was Larry Burkett said this in one of our financial classes or something, or a book that we read. And he was telling young married couples, he says, don't expect to have in 5 years what took your parents 25 years to accumulate. So many of us go into marriage and we want everything that our parents have, and because of our access to debt, because it's so easy to get debt, we do that. We build lives for us that are packed with all of the things that our parents or grandparents have accumulated, but they've accumulated that over a period of time, and we want all of that now. And so we lose the lost art of saving, all right? We lose that. Now, while the Bible doesn't say that it's a sin to go into debt, we need to be careful that the things that motivate our debt are not sinful. In other words, while it's not a sin to go into debt, it is a sin to be jealous of what other people have. It is a sin to worry about the future, all right? And to make purchase decisions based upon a place of worry rather than trusting God. Greed is definitely a sin. And so the things that influence or motivate us to go into debt are often sinful. So we need to evaluate our motives when we're faced with a debt purchase. Is our decision to buy that thing based upon an idol in our lives? Could we go to college at a less expensive university and not incur so much debt? Could we would we purchase a less expensive vehicle? Could we buy a smaller home? So evaluate your motives and ask yourselves, is there an idol? Is the thing I want become an idol to me? Another problem, another way in which debt kind of robs us of a really full and meaningful life is that it removes the opportunity for God to do a miracle among us. If you read God's words, you find a lot of great stories of people who find themselves in really difficult situations where they are broke or they can't have enough food to eat. And as I read the Bible, I never once come across a story in which God says, you know what, just go to the bank, I'm going to provide you with a wonderful interest rate on a small loan. That's never his solution to them. Always throughout the Bible, we read stories of God providing for their needs in profound and beautiful ways. I was just recently reading the story of Elijah and how there's a severe famine in the land. And he meets a widow with a son, and he says, hey, would you make me a loaf of bread? And she says, listen, buddy, in my version, that's what she said. I'll make you a loaf of bread, but I only have enough ingredients to make one loaf of bread. I was going to make this loaf of bread, and me and my son were going to starve to death because it hasn't rained for months or years. And so Elijah says, listen, I believe that God is going to be able to provide for you. And so over the next course of several months or years during this famine, God does a miracle. And every time this woman goes to make bread, there's always enough ingredients for it. Always enough. It's a really incredible story. So I think that it's important for us when we face legitimate needs, because let's face it, some of the times that we go into debt are not because we want big screen TVs. It's because we've got medical bills we can't pay. We've got to feed our families. We need diapers for our babies. We've got a heating bill. Like, they're going to turn the heat off or the electricity is going to shut off. And so in these kinds of moments, it would be very easy just to put it on the credit card or go into debt. And I believe that in those moments, especially when we're talking about places of human need, all right? Not fancy cars, but these are legitimate needs. I think in those moments, we rob God of an opportunity to do a miracle in our lives when we turn to credit rather than to the Lord. And so I would encourage us to recognize that debt removes the opportunity for God to do a miracle. And finally, one of the other nasty implications that we've already touched on is that debt limits our ability to be free to go and free to serve. And debt constrains us with long-term financial liabilities that inhibit our ability to go where God calls us. We feel trapped because of the debt that we have. We feel unable to go and to serve like we want to, let alone be able to give like we want to as well. So I think that we all agree debt is no fun. Nobody here enjoys debt. So how do we break free from it? How can we experience God's grace in the area of debt-free living? And I believe that if God is going to write in His Word that it is wise to not go into debt and it's best, that's the best reality for us, then I believe He's going to provide us with the opportunity to live that out. So let's just talk through a couple simple ways in which we can break free from debt. First of all, we got to realize this is going to take a long time. In order to get out of debt, it's like long obedience in the same direction for a long period of time. You just got to keep plodding along in living simply, as we talked about last week. And maybe, think through your calendar year. When do you spend the most money? Is it Christmas time? Maybe it's time to simplify Christmas. Make some homemade cards or something. Maybe it's time to buy a cheaper car. Again, if you've got things in your life that you don't need that are continually costing you money, it might be time to get rid of those things. Romans 13:8 says, owe no man anything except to love each other. For the one who loves another has fulfilled the law. That's really the ideal that God is pushing us towards. That's kind of the optimum situation. That we would be a church, that the only debt load that we have is that we need to love one another. If you find yourself in a relationship with another human, and you feel like the only way to show them or they feel appreciated or loved is for you to go into debt to buy them something, that's not a healthy relationship at all. All right? Not a healthy relationship. Another step here that I would love us to take is not just to live simply, but also when faced with an insurmountable problem, because let's face it, you'll make the decision today, you know what, I want to start getting out of debt. I'm going to cut up my credit card. We're not going to use that any longer. And immediately, your car's going to break down, right? It's like, there's like a little demon under your hood that just like runs a pitchfork into your engine or something. Right? That's not theologically sound, all right? I mean, maybe it is, I don't know. I don't think they really have pitchforks. But isn't that the way it is? You make a decision, you want to walk in obedience to God, and immediately you're faced with a challenge. Immediately you're going to get that medical bill that you didn't think you were going to have to pay. You thought your insurance covered it, turns out they didn't. Immediately you're going to, your roof is going to develop a leak, and you're going to be so frustrated. In those moments when you're faced with an insurmountable problem, all right, go to God first. I don't always remember all the things my dad preached, believe it or not. Just like I don't remember all the things I preached. But I do remember this one sermon that my father preached. He said to the congregation, are you going to trust the master or the MasterCard? Like that'll preach right there, right? You're going to trust the master or the MasterCard. I'm going to see him later today. Now I can tell him I used to. But here's a beautiful promise that I think applies to all of God's people. It's found in Philippians chapter 4, verse 19. Philippians 4:19 says this, my God will supply every need of yours according to his riches in glory in Christ Jesus. My God will supply every need of yours according to his riches in Christ Jesus. Now this is not advocating, and we would never teach prosperity gospel. In other words, if you're obedient to Jesus and you follow his rules, then he's going to make you incredibly rich. All right? Obviously, we're $3.4 million in debt. That's not the case, right? But I believe that when faced with legitimate human needs, we can rest on the promise of God that he will provide for us. And never in Scripture do I see him providing through a debt obligation. I think that he loves to work in miraculous ways. Sarah and I have stories of, especially in the early days of our marriage, when we were really, really broke. And God would provide in amazing ways. One time we had just bought a home. We bought more home than we should have bought, probably, and our taxes went up. We couldn't pay our taxes that year. We were terrified. We didn't know what to do. And I was asked to go speak at a church in another community. It was in the early days of our church here, and so sometimes I'd have to go around and preach at other churches and let them know about our church plan. So I did not want to go. I didn't want to pay for the gas to go. I was just miserable because I didn't know if I was going to be able to keep my home or not. I had to pay these taxes. And so, but I had promised that we would go. So we drive down to this church. It was a rainy day. I was miserable. And I preach. I tell them all about this church and a coffee shop I'm starting. And afterwards, they say, Pastor, would you just stay up here? And they asked Sarah to come on up, and maybe we had Ava at the time. Did we have Ava at the time? Oh, we did. We had 2 kids. All right. Anyway, all I know is they said, every year we love to just pick a pastor and bless them. See all these groceries up here? These groceries are for you. And Sarah's starting to choke up, and I'm really very happy because I like to eat food. And they're like, here are some gift cards for you, so you can buy more groceries when these groceries run out. And I'm like, gift cards? That's amazing, I can sell those on eBay. I didn't really say that out loud. And then I think we owed $800 in taxes, $700 in taxes. I forget. It was more than I had. And then they're like, and we took up an offering, and here's $800 for you, Pastor. And Sarah and I were just so amazed at the faithfulness of God in that moment in our lives. There's been other weird things that have happened too, that in ways that God has provided in miraculous ways. And so, when faced with insurmountable problems, go to God first. Ask him to provide for you. Another way that we can walk in obedience and walk the hard life of getting out of debt is by eliminating things in our lives that we don't need. sell something. I love it. Think about it. If debt is really our slave master, if we're slaves to debt, if we're in bondage to debt, don't you want to do whatever it takes to get out of debt and to be free? Don't you want to do whatever it takes? It might mean getting rid of your cable. It might mean not eating out as much and learning to love peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. It might mean getting a part-time job or starting a family business. Make it a family thing. Together, we're going to work. Get a thermometer and color it off as you eliminate debt. Sell something. Sell a car. I keep saying sell cars. I don't know why. There's other things in your life that you can sell, but live simply and eliminate things that you don't need. At the Commonplace last year, we did something called Financial Peace University in the winter, which was kind of this 9-week study on how to be financially healthy. And so we had about 5 families that attended that. It was really a good time, and so we're going to run that again. We'd like to run it in January when everybody's broke, because they all spend all their money at Christmas, right? But we'll do that again, and if this is meaningful to you, I would encourage you to sign up for that. One of the tidbits, I'll just leave you with this, that a lot of financial planners will tell you is, if you are in debt and you feel overwhelmed, the first place to start is to find the smallest debt that you have and pay that off. And once you pay it off and you don't have that payment anymore, use the money that you were paying for that to apply to the next smallest debt and just work your way up. They call it the debt snowball. So there you have it. This is kind of an unusual sermon, I agree, but I feel like Jesus doesn't want us just to be simply free from sin, but he wants us to live in a place of freedom in all areas of our lives as well. He wants us to be free financially, to be able to serve and to give and to go as he calls us to. So I think that today it would just be encouraging for us that we would make a decision to take a small step to move out of indebtedness. Just imagine what we could do with $3.4 million that we didn't owe to somebody else. Can you imagine what we could do in serving our community, the initiatives we could start, the places we could go, the missionaries we could send around the world? Now, some of us are debt-free. Praise God for that. I would challenge you, if you are debt-free, are you leveraging that freedom to live a generous life? That's important as well. It's a Commonplace. Let's move towards a place of freedom. If you have questions or you're interested in taking the Financial Peace class, you can come talk to me later, and we'll start getting a list of families together for that. I think that would be a really, really wonderful time. But let's close with a word of prayer. Lord, we want as a church to be in a position to go immediately and to live generously, to honor you in every area of our lives, and we don't want anything to limit that freedom that you call us to. And so for those of us today, I'm guessing most of us today, who find ourselves in bondage to debt, I pray that you would help us to begin to take a small step in the direction of moving out of that bondage. Lord, I believe that you can do great things in our church, and I pray that you would give us the faith that we need to trust you when times are hard. I pray that you would give us the motivation to live simple lives so that we can begin to walk this new journey. I pray that in the end, we won't move to be out of debt so that we can become richer or we can end up having more stuff. But I pray that our genuine motivation would be to be like Jesus, who was free to go and to live a life of sacrifice and service to others. And so I pray that that would be our motivation as well. We love you, Lord, and we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
You guys would stand and join us for